The best modifications are the free modifications. Now, yes, we will be addressing the carbon traps inside these intake ducts, but we're also going to free up some more free, fresh, cold air, and I'm going to get to that in just a second. Now, both of these ducts have carbon traps that we're going to remove from there, and that's going to allow greater airflow to flow through to the throttle bodies. However, there's a restriction, and it's not the air filters like some people might think. It's actually this intake duct right there that leads from the bumper into the airbox. Ford did an amazing job. They've got dual inlets into the airboxes right there. Should be pulling super cold air. However, based off of my dash temperatures that I've been reading, not so much. We've actually got 5 to 20 degrees variance from ambient air temperatures. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a closer look at this. If you see, this is open, 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 but these are all closed off. Now there's reasons for that. One reason is for rainwater. So I want to tell you before you do any modifications here, if you drive in a lot of rainwater and you have a paper filter, that's actually going to get clogged up way quicker. So just keep that in mind before you do anything. Now, the Dark Horse and all other aftermarket grills for that matter actually have this completely open. So that means airflow can flow straight into the intake air box. So what I'm going to do is I have my drill right there and I have a Dremel. We're going to go ahead and drill out some of these holes to allow greater airflow to go in there, and that's going to be right after we do the carbon traps. Let's get to it. First thing we're going to do is remove the airbox cover. This is a 10 millimeter. These are T20 Torx bits for the mass airflow sensor. We'll pop off the clip on there and we'll remove this line. I'm not totally sure how to remove that just yet, but I'll get to that. And we basically want to pull this duct out. The air filter will have to come off as well. Let's get to it. All right, and there is our carbon trap. So what we want to do next is take off this little air diverter. We'll do that by pressing down on that tab right there, and then press down on that tab and pull it straight out. It only goes in one way, so don't worry about realignment on that. So I'm just going to push down on that right there and pull it out. I'm actually just walking it out little by little, and there it's out. So now we can see carbon trap in there. We're just going to grab it. We're going to grab the small end of it, pull it through. Well, I'm actually going to go there. Once we got that pulled through, and being careful, just pulling it around. It's going to loop around. I'm trying to be careful not to break the tab off, so I'm kind of pushing it down and around. Push it down and around. You can see it coming free on there now. And now it's out. Take the carbon paper element of it out, and there we go. We have a free-flowing intake duct right there. The mass airflow sensor can only go on one way. Don't force it. Don't cross-thread the threads. It's just thin plastic. But now this is ready to go back on, and then we could do the other side. So now what we can do is put this back in. So we're going to go ahead and line that up, that groove up. There we go. And then we can just pop that back in. There it is, all set. All right, with that, we could put this back on. Rotate down so it sits flush. Get the mass airflow sensor back on. This plug back in. Make sure there's no debris on the mass airflow sensor. We could thread the bolts back in place. I always start the bolts going back in, start them by hand just a little bit. That way you don't cross thread anything, and you know that if it goes in smooth, it'll tighten up smooth. Don't want to tighten these too tight, just squeeze them down just a little bit. Everything is plastic, and you just want the mass airflow sensor to seal. You want to make sure it goes down nice and evenly as well. Make sure nothing's binding up. Everything should be quick and easy. Alright, and there is our intake duct back in place. We can put our filter back on. You can see the amount of dirt that it was getting, so that's where the airflow is actually hitting. So now when I go to open up the grill, it's going to hit a lot more of this. See how it's just paper? Once water hits that, it's actually going to absorb it, and it's going to change the material a little bit. So this filter is not going to last long at all. I got too excited there. We should probably tighten this. This one as well, you don't need that tight. It just needs to seal up. Don't want to be breaking anything. It's just thin plastic. Alright, so that's going to hold in place. Push this clip back in. Now on this one, this was just a push in this tab to pull out. That's how you got that off. Let's tighten that duct. There we go. That's all tight. We can get the cover back on. A lot of people like to run with these covers off, and it shows better performance on the dyno. But look at all this hot air you're going to be pulling in. That just doesn't make any sense at all. Definitely want these sealed up. All right, there it is. Passenger side, right side is all completed. We're going to move on to the driver's side now, do that one. We'll get a closer look at some of the things in there in case you have any questions. Hopefully that answers it. All right, this side will be much the same. We're going to go ahead and pull this clip off. And we're going to, on the bottom side, there's a little tab that you pull on that one. It's tough to show, but just right there. You just pull that up a little bit, and that'll clip that. That'll remove that off that clip right there. Now we'll pry this off. Again, the T20 to remove that. 10 millimeter there, air box. Same process on this side. There it is. Same thing on the driver's side. You can see we're going to pop off these tabs here. Pull this straight out. Let's make sure this has a groove. It sure does on there. So that means we cannot mess this up, and this will go back in place. But all these components are key components. But yeah, look at how much restriction there is in that. That's going to stop the airflow, or at least slow it down. This is nice. This is going to be good. Take a closer look at this air filter. You can see a little bit of dirt there. Now this car only has like 350 miles on it, so it's already showing dirt there. That's why when we open up the grill, just so you know, there's going to be more stuff coming through. But the Dark Horse and other aftermarket grills actually have it open. They're doing just fine. So what I'm doing here is I'm pushing down on that tab, and then I'm pulling with my fingers, pulling the diverter back towards me, but using leverage off of my thumb right here. See, and that basically pulled it outward like that, and then we'll walk that out. And there we go. We're going to find the small end. We're going to pull that forward a little bit. Remember not to break this tab. Be very careful with that tab in there. So you're going to want to rotate this around as you pull it through. See, I'm pushing it down and rotating it because I want to be underneath this. Tangled up on the paper piece in there. There we go. We got it out. Pull it through. Toss that aside. We're going to put it back together. Find the groove. Alright, that's back on. You need to double check the other side, but there is a little tab right there that holds this filter in place. I need to pull off the herb lid on the other side, make sure that I got that back in, but make sure you get that locked in place. Okay, so that's on, that's tight, it's tight. When you get this pipe back on, this just slips back into place. Clicked. We are all set on the air boxes. There we go. Here's the up-close look at the actual grill. This is on the driver's side. And you can see the areas that it's actually all blocked off right there. Now the reason for that is obviously they consider this like a daily driver car. It is a GT performance package, but that doesn't matter because the Dark Horse is the race car essentially, right? So This one's going to be meant to be driven in all sorts of weather, and they want to keep you as safe as possible. So what they did was just block these off, and that keeps it to a minimum on how much debris and everything is going to go in there, because they want a long life out of this engine and a long life out of the air filter. So what I'm going to have to do is go to a better air filter, I think, that's cleanable, because this is going to be getting dirty super fast, which I actually have on my way, or on its way, so be sure to watch for a video in the future. But for now, what we're going to do is we're going to start drilling these out, and then we're going to router them out. We're going to get some better airflow into that air box. Here's what I'm going to be using. This is just this little battery-powered Dremel. I just got it, 7760-N. Unsure if it'll work, but it very well should. And then we have this Dremel bit right here. This is just a basic 1/8 inch router bit. And I'm going to start it all off with just drilling a little hole in there, and then I'll clean it up with this Dremel bit. We'll see if that works. If I got to make any adjustments, I'll let you know. All right, so let me zoom in for you. Hopefully that gets it better. We're just going to start with the easiest one, which is going to be right here in the center. Now there's nothing behind it for me to worry about, and I will vacuum this all out, so we are going to have some debris in there, but that's not that big of a deal. But you can see the hole right there. That started it. Now, if you want to be lazy, you could actually just drill holes like this through there and not do the router bit. It's up to you, but I think it's going to be cleaner if I go ahead and router it all out. And the reason I'm doing this is it's going to cut down time. I can get the router bit inside there and work through it. I could probably do a secondary hole right next to it. I'm not sure if that's going to help or hinder me at all. But you can see this is just starting the process of opening it all up. And what I'm paying close attention to is the edge of where the grill portion actually sticks out, because I want to retain this honeycomb look by doing this as well. These ones right here are going to be a little tough to get to, so I think for now what I'm going to do is just focus on these center ones. I think I'll leave this one alone because it's too close to the edge down here, and I don't want to mess up the look of this. But I think opening up this row is going to be a big improvement. We may do this one, may not do that one. I'm not sure. We'll see as we go. I'm going to go ahead and drill off to the side as well. Alright, well, that just broke the piece right off, which actually isn't a bad thing, because now that kind of helped me out a little bit. So I went a little too far on that one, and it grabbed it and ripped it out. No big deal, no harm, no foul. Alright, this is our router bit right here. Go ahead and turn it up to level 2, and we're just going to go. Alright, now you can see I followed the line. Hopefully you can see that I follow the line along there. And I'll basically do the same on all of these, being sure not to hit it too much on there. You can touch it up with some black paint, so it's not going to be that big of a deal. But I'll continue on with all these and update you in just a moment. Alright, so there it is before we've done any touch-up at all. Now obviously I nicked a couple little edges that I didn't really want to nick, but that could be touched up with some gloss black paint right there. Actually looks pretty good. That's just the rough cut right there too. Nothing has been polished or anything. That's just straight off of that router bit. And like I said, I might go in there and clean up a little bit in there. But let me grab a light, and you can see, I think, does that help at all? See? So you can see in there just how much of a difference we have. So I'm going to go ahead and touch that up with some black, and then we'll move on to the other side. Just kidding, I don't have any black paint with me, so we're actually just going to have to leave that the way that it is. But let's move on to the other side. All right, on this one, we're not going to drill the hole out. We're just going to see what happens if we don't. All right, so when we don't drill out the hole, there's just more of a mess to deal with, is what that is. So we'll just continue on, see what we got. All right, here we are on the passenger side, just completed. Like I said, I don't have any black paint, so I'm gonna have to go in there and touch that up. But overall, I think I'm pretty happy with that. Got the whole center stack opened up. These were the only ones that were opened up before. Let's go to the other side. So this is our driver's side. We got the whole, I'm actually going to clean that up a little bit more in there, smooth those out. But all I did was use that router bit. I didn't use any kind of smoothing disc or anything like that. So we'll see what I think of this. We'll see what the intake air temperatures are. But you're going to have to stay tuned for the next video on that, because I want to give this some good driving time to see my real personal results of this. And on the next video, you're going to see the actual air filters that we're swapping out as well as the resolution, and if this helped in any way or not.